Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the Moments Podcast. I am doing really good at having guests on the podcast all of a sudden, so I have someone super, super special with me today, and he's actually my first male podcast guest, and his name is Brian Ramsey. You're probably wondering where he came from and who he is. So the story behind that is we've basically been best friends since high school, but I think in the last year we've gotten a lot closer, and he just did something pretty cool, so we're going to talk about it. He ran a marathon. How are you feeling? Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Brian Ramsey. Lexi and I have known each other for quite a while, but yeah, it's day after the marathon. Ran the Miami Marathon yesterday. Legs are definitely feeling it today, but feel really good, and got a huge accomplishment out of the way and been working really hard for it, so excited to talk about it for sure.
Yeah, and Brian has probably been the biggest fan of this podcast since day one, and I think, way back in the day, he asked me to come on it, and I was like, yeah, one of these days I'll be ready to have people on it, and I just kept saying that and saying it and saying it, and then I was like, he ran a marathon. I need to get over my own fear of, having people on the podcast, and we're just going to talk. We're just going to talk about it. I put on my Instagram story, and I was like, oh, can you ask questions? What would you ask someone who just ran a marathon? And I wrote a bunch of them down, and we're just going to talk about them and see how it goes and what we talk about, because running a marathon is pretty insane. I think it's insane, but it's awesome. So I guess first thing we should talk about is where did this idea come from? Why did you want to do it? And yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of out of the blue, honestly. I think I've told you this kind of before, but I read that David Goggins book.
Can't Hurt Me.
Can't Hurt Me. Not super tied to running a marathon, but he kind of just talks about how, he had a rough childhood, but he kind of deals with some of his stress, or just kind of his identity is pushing through pain. And I was kind of at a point where I'm graduating college next year. I was kind of trying to figure out what I want to do. I felt like I was getting a little complacent with certain things. And I was kind of looking for a new challenge or something to push myself. And I related a lot to some of the stuff that he was saying about how he would run these crazy races. He does 240 miles.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Also, this book that he's talking about, I've been wanting to read it or listen to the audio. People say did you do the audiobook?
I did not, but I have heard the audiobook.
People
really,
love
really
the audiobook because I think I don't know if he reads it, but there's parts where his voice is in it or something. And now that I'm here and we're doing this, I'm definitely going to listen to the audiobook just because I feel inspired to do it, but continue.
Yeah, so kind of just saw that, and then was just thinking about I really don't run at all. Before this, at least before I signed up, I never ran. I've always.
That's another thing that's crazy. I was talking to him about it. I think the most you said he ran was 2 or 3 miles.
I think 3 was the furthest I'd ever run before I signed up. And before that, I probably hadn't run for a year or 2.
And he signed up for a full marathon. He didn't start out with no half marathon, no 5K. He was all right, we're doing this. But I will say, I think that that's something that it doesn't even surprise me. The kind of person that Brian is, he just goes for it. Once you have a goal, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And in high school, he did all the things. He was Mr. Boca High, and I don't know if you guys would know what that is, but basically the person. What is the role of Mr. Boca High?
It's so hard to explain.
It is. It's he leads the pep rallies, the student section, just gets everyone hyped up, and did all sorts of things in high school.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Fun times. We loved high school.
Yeah, high school was a blast. I peaked in high school for all the honest,
I know. I did too. It's okay. We're moving on. Now you ran a marathon, so can't say you peaked in high school if you ran a marathon. Right?
I guess so.
Guess so. Anyways, you were still telling why.
Yeah, so and then I started running, and that probably not even for a week or 2, and then obviously when you start running, the first thing you think about is okay, what sure, you can go out to run for fitness, and that's great, but I guess I like to set mini goals, and I feel that kind of keeps you more accountable. Instead of just trying to say run twice a week, you're gonna have some bad weeks where that just might fade out and kind of diminish. So I was looking for something, and then one of my buddies, Najee, he's run a marathon before. He's ran his entire life. So I was texting him. I was yo, maybe I'll hop in on the next race you do.
And he was fine, say less.
And he was originally the plan was, I think he was trying to do a half marathon, and I was okay, maybe I'll do that with you. And then just kind of one thing led to another, and then my brain expanded as it normally does, and I was all right, I'm not going to half send this. I'm signing up for the full.
Full send only. Full send only.
Full sent it, signed up for a full marathon.
And then our other friend Pookie ran it too. Did you just tell him, do you want to do it? And he said yes?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, obviously I was trying to get as many people as I could. I texted a lot of my...
I told him that I was going to run a half marathon. I lied. I totally lied. And
next time. I'll make sure Lexi does it next time. But the Pookie story is funny because I literally texted him and I was like, yo, I'm running a marathon. And he literally responded with, if you ask me to run a marathon with you right now, like, you have to be kidding. And I was like, you don't have to. Like, I'm just telling you I'm doing it. And literally his exact response was, you know, I don't say yes to enough things in life. I'll do it with you.
Oh, I love it.
That was really cool.
I love it.
Because he always tells people that I convinced him to do it. But I'm like, dude, I literally just told you to do it with me. And then he ended up doing it. So
But some people just need the idea. Like, that's kind of how I am in some cases. Like, I just need someone to say, like, give the little bit of push. And then I'll go for it. Oh, that's so cool. I can't believe you guys did that.
Yeah. So then we both obviously go to UF. So we were training together for some of it. Towards the end, we kind of started to do our own thing, partially just because of scheduling, and then also we kind of realized that there's probably a good chance at some point throughout the race that like we're gonna get separated, and I like didn't want to be out there, and I've never run like a long run by myself, you know.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So we kind of just started doing our own thing, but that was definitely fun, and having a partner like him for sure, at least from the start, was awesome. My brother signed up to do it with us as well, but he lives in New York City, so I couldn't actually run with him, but like. Having those like weekly conversations and obviously having like a running buddy in Gainesville was like a super good way to kind of keep up with it.
I still can't even process you guys ran a marathon. I guess like the next question that you guys had, and honestly I have all the same questions because I've asked him and he's told me them and I just can't comprehend what is the reason, why did you do it, and like how did you do it. So I'm curious, like when you started training, was there ever a point where you were like, I can't do this, I want to give up? Or what did you do to push through when you felt like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was for sure a roller coaster, and I think the biggest thing, at least from the start, right, is like you set this huge goal, you're like, all right, I'm running 26 miles, and like automatically you're gonna feel behind, right?
Because I'd imagine that in the beginning I'd be so like, let's do this. Well,
you're
also
pumped. Yeah, of course, you have all the motivation.
You know that when I started that, well, I started doing this thing on TikTok over the summer.
The running series,
and I was so excited for it because I was like, I'm gonna get back into running. Not back into it, I never ran, but I was like, I'm gonna learn how to run. I'm gonna be able to run like 3 miles all the way through. I did it for actually 8 days. That's how long it lasted because I started traveling, and then I just found excuses. And then obviously once something isn't new for me anymore, I get sick of it because I think that's just how my brain works sometimes. But obviously when you set a goal like this, you can't do that. So how do you push through? Honestly, tell me because I need to figure it out, and everyone else who like wants to give up.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways, right? Like, one, I told like everybody I knew I was doing it, and I'm also like, I'm not someone like when I tell you something that I'm not going to do it. Like, and I think that's like something
Is that
like
a personal attack,
I
Brian?
hold true to my. No, it's not. You've gotten a lot better.
I have gotten better. It's always an inside joke that I just not necessarily flake on everything, but I'll make promises that I can't even keep. Anyways, keep going.
But yeah, so like I mean, obviously I signed up, told everyone. I mean, like I don't really care. Like if other people, like if it say I did fail and like other people like knew that, like that wouldn't bother me that much. But it's more like kind of like just like self accountability. Like I told myself I'm gonna do this. I told other people I'm gonna do this. Brought other people into it. So kind of just that dedication, that aspect of it, but also I guess like keeping a consistent schedule.
That's the hardest part, I think.
Yeah.
For me at least.
And like the whole so I mean we can get into this later too, but like with running and just how like your muscles and bones are built, like you can't just
stop.
Well, no, you can't do too much to start. Because like if you're like a lot of like what shin splints come from. And we can talk about this because I had some very severe shin splints.
Well, I remember when I started doing my running series, quote unquote, that lasted 8 days. I was on like day 5, and I was like, oh, my shins kind of hurt. I'm not gonna run today. Yeah. And then so like kind I can't imagine at a higher level.
Yeah, but like kind of breaking into it and like just peeling off like layers one by one. Like okay, I'm gonna go do 4 miles. You go do 4 miles now. You go do like 5 or 6. Then you go do 7 or 8. Like you can't just like walk out and be like, all right, I'm gonna go like absolutely kill myself and try to do like 10 today, and like the longest you've ever done is 3. Because I mean that could work once, right? Like you could push through it, but like your body's got to heal. Like you have many months of preparation. Like you can't just like go out, get injured, and then expect to like keep recovering and like keep running at the same time. Like they don't go hand in hand with each other.
I feel like that's a cool life lesson too, not to make it like deep and turn it into a metaphor, but with any goal in life, like you have to take the small steps. And I think so many people are just so focused on getting to that end goal that like you don't appreciate the journey at all. And yeah, it kind of relates. Like that's what I think of when I hear that.
Yeah. And for anyone wanting to run a race, there's obviously like a ton of resources available for like training programs. So like the first thing I did was find a marathon training program.
Did you stick to it?
So it was a 20-week program if I remember. And when we signed up, I think we had 6 full months. So that's what, like 24, 25 weeks. And the whole point was like you kind of needed to be ready for week 1 like by the time week 1 came. So like we had like say 4 weeks to get to the week 1 part.
Gotcha.
So got up to that I don't remember how many miles the week 1 was, but I think your longest run was like 6, but it was still like say 15 miles for the week.
That's crazy.
Which like by the time that came around, like I was ready to do that, but you were running like 4 or 5 times a week, and I stuck to the schedule by a T for probably like 4 to 5 weeks, and then I started getting shin splints, and I was like, okay, like because then you have to like make the decision like, okay, like yeah, I can probably push through this, but like
is it worth it?
I have 5 months to go. Like should I try to like take care of this now and then like try and catch up a little bit on the back end? So like I definitely fell behind pretty early, and that was kind of scary, but I guess it kind of worked out. But
it did work out. Yeah. That, because I guess I'll just throw this in here now. When I was at the marathon, Lisette and I we took the Bright Line, which is a train from where I live to Miami, at 4:20 in the morning. So we got there like before they were able to start. We got to see them, and like, it was just like the coolest energy. There were 25,000 people running it, right?
Correct.
I think
it was
more
sold
than
out.
that. Which is insane. Like that is just so many people in one place, awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, ready to go run, whether it was the half marathon or the full marathon. And from the second I got there, I was like, this would be a really, really cool experience, and like to be able to say I did it just for myself. And so that was already going through my head. And then we ended up finding a spot like a mile into the race where there were these people like playing the bagpipes. We were on a bridge, like on the highway basically. They shut down 2 lanes of the highway. And the sun was rising, and everyone was running, and it was just such a core memory that I was like, this is the moment I'm deciding that I'm maybe not going to run a full marathon. Like I'm not going to put all that pressure on myself yet, but I am 110% going to run the half marathon, whether it's next year. Well, yeah, next year. And I'm going to make it happen.
Let's go.
And like, that just kind of like, it was the coolest thing. I was like, I think that I need to do it because I know that I hate running. I know that I'm not good at running, but I think it would be so cool to challenge myself to do that because I'm sure I'd learn how to love running. And obviously it's just like such a mental toughness challenge, but also just like, I don't even know how to explain it. I feel like it's so good for your mental health because you challenge yourself and push yourself. And like, I guess that's another question I would have, like mentally, besides like the physical, shin splints and stuff, like what went through your head at all parts of your training? And then we'll get to like how the actual race went.
Mentally, I think one is you just have to like figure out how much you want to prioritize about it, right? So like being in college, like a lot of these runs you're gonna have to wait like at least like either to fit in your schedule or just like say for the heat of the day. Like I mean, the Miami Marathon starts at 6 a.m., right? So like,
true, and also if you guys know, we live in Florida, so it's hot as it's about as hot as it gets.
Yeah, especially the humidity like midday, but race day, you're starting running at 6 a.m. So if you do all your training runs at like 3 p.m., you're probably going to feel a lot different than when you would when you run the actual thing. So like, at least for me, I was like, okay, like if I'm going to actually take this seriously, I should probably be doing most of my runs like early in the morning. So like that they come with like some sacrifices of like not going out with some friends like on certain nights. And especially like when you get to the back half and like those runs are turning into like 16, 18, 20 miles.
Holy
like
crap.
You can't be like
out. You can't be hungover running.
Yeah, you can't like go out and drink like the night before. Okay, maybe some people could, but I definitely couldn't.
I couldn't either.
But
most people couldn't.
Yeah, but like there'd be periods of say like 3 days where like I'm drinking a gallon of water a day, like I'm making sure I'm eating correctly. So like it definitely would take like a big time aspect of it. And then I guess also like mentally like, how much you're gonna discipline yourself. Like it's a long process. Like I kept saying to myself was, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
And I was like, literally, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, there's no...
So, like, you just kind of know that, like, sure, like, maybe this run went well today or this run went poorly, but, like, that doesn't matter compared to like the next run you're gonna do. So like a lot of it was building self-confidence, like for sure, because like I knew.
And I think you had to build up a way to trust yourself and just know that like even if this was shit and like I couldn't even run 2 miles. Obviously, this is more. For me, it would be like, oh shit, I couldn't run 2 miles today. How am I ever gonna run 13?
Exactly.
You just have to be like, I'll get there, and you just have to believe in yourself and like know that, you know, it's a circle. It's like a cycle. Yeah. Some days are gonna be better than others. And but eventually you're going to do it.
Yeah, and it's okay to fail, too. Like, I definitely had, especially at the start, I had plenty. Like, I would really just try to, like, go out and run, like, 3 or, like, 4 or, like, maybe even 2.5. And, like, I'd be like, dude, like, I came out way too high. Like, maybe I'm running at the wrong time. And, like, you're going to fail. But, like, you have to be able to, like, I mean, obviously bounce back from it. Like, one of the biggest moments in my training was Pookie and I came down here for Thanksgiving with our families. So we're in Boca, so it's kind of, like, closest to Miami conditions we were going to get. And we hadn't done like a long run in a while. This is like right after my shin splint. So
I think I remember this.
I needed to get back into it. So it was Thanksgiving morning. It was like the only day that worked for us. We're like, all right, we're going to run 16 miles like on A1A right next to the beach. And like something happened. I don't know. Like I threw up on mile 4. I was like, dude. And like,
come on.
And like when you throw up like that, like right, you're completely dehydrating yourself. Like all your electrolytes are gone. And then I ended up quitting on him on like mile 7.5, and that was like the first run I quit on him, and he like ended up finishing it, and I was like wow, like I can't believe I just quit on him. Like in hindsight, like it was probably the right thing. Like I was so lightheaded, like I knew that just wasn't a good like spot, but like seeing that and like knowing that like one, not only was I behind the person that like I was started training with, like that like really just like lit something up, and I was like, okay, like I'm taking this way more seriously. Like okay, I'm gonna start biking now. I'm gonna start swimming, like doing other forms of cardio, just like get back to where I was. So you have like certain events in the training that are gonna like really
shape you,
set something up. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it. Oh, and then another thing that I don't even know if someone asked it, but I was asking him before we even started recording. Tell me about a runner's high, because I just don't.
I get this question all the time. It's real. It's so real. And like, I mean, obviously, like you don't like feel euphoric. I guess.
And
like,
anyone who like runs, you probably understand this. I am just someone who. I don't know, I've said it like 18 times already just in this episode. I hate running. So how do you get to a point where it's enjoyable? Like, what do you think about? And also, he doesn't listen to music, which I just think is crazy. Tie this in. But yeah, tie it all together. Tell me how you do it.
Hot take. So runner's high is probably different for everyone, but for me, what runner's high means is basically like my muscles are warmed up. I'm like just say out kind of by myself, and like you just kind of feel like you're cranking out distances like faster than what's expected. Like you'll like run a mile, you'll be like, okay, like that didn't bother me, and you're kind of like, and it's very important for when you're doing these long runs because a lot of it's tied back to your heart rate. Like you can't let your heart rate get too high, so you almost want to check out as much as you humanly can. So like you're kind of running and you're like not trying to think about time. You're not trying to like mark distances. Like say you've done a route before, you don't want to be like, okay, I know when I get to this tree, I'm at 1 mile. I
think that's a problem of mine because since I do listen to music, I'm always like, okay, if I listen to one song, that's about 4 minutes. And then I just am constantly thinking. Exactly. I can't clear my head, but that's the point. That's the goal we're going to get to.
And that's exactly why I stopped listening to music was because, well, one, when I did like, when you get to like 14, I guess my AirPods started to die. So I was like, when I was dying, my music was like giving out on me. I was like, okay, this is just not ideal. But like when you start like going out there for like 2.5 hours, you don't want to be like checking boxes every 3 minutes. Like that is not fun. It's on a repeat. Some people listen to podcasts. I tried that a few times and I kind of felt like it was doing the opposite job. Like it was checking me out, but it also wasn't like hyping me up enough. And then also a big thing for me was I'm always like trying to be conscious of my breathing. Like I can, like once you run for a little bit, like keep in mind, like I'm a super inexperienced runner. Like I don't typically know what I'm doing until like I start.
He goes, I'm an inexperienced runner. No, just ran a marathon yesterday. But it is true because there are people who do this, like have been doing this, and like it is their whole thing. And like this was your first time doing something like this, and
like before I did this, I could probably count on my 2 hands how many runs I did for pleasure. Like
that's crazy.
That like I probably went for less than 10 runs in my entire life.
Wow.
But you pick up pretty quickly when you're like exerting too much energy. And especially for the long runs, like you need to like, okay, my heart's doing this. Like, okay, my calf's cramping a little bit. Like maybe I like try to focus on something else. Like get like imbalanced muscles, try to fix it. But not listening to music definitely helped. One, pass time, and two, just like make me a lot more self-aware of kind of what was going on. And like, I mean, in Gainesville, there's like a nature trail I run on.
Oh, that's peaceful.
And it's like, I go obviously early, and like, especially when I started going like by myself without Pookie, like it was just kind of cool to be like, hey, like this is just me in a road. Like, anything you want to think about, you can think about. And that's like one thing I definitely loved about running was like, it was a great way to kind of like process things. Maybe like something was on my mind, or like I had to like think through something. Running's a great, I mean, when you have 3 hours to do it, typically typically it comes out. So.
And would you say that that's like a good way that, well, I mean, yeah, you just were able to clear your head and like get through everything that life was throwing at you?
For sure.
Because you kind of just had to escape it. Like it was a chance to do your thing. Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. And then I guess like, well, you talked about Can't Hurt Me. That was kind of what sparked the inspiration, right? So you read that before you had the idea?
Correct.
Okay. And then like, what else did you do besides the physical training? How did you prep? Like, what did you eat different things? You drank the gallons of water, but more so mindset wise, how did you prep for like the actual race?
Visualization was huge. Like every run that like when I was on it and I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, why did I do this? I like always like pictured like crossing the finish line, like my friends being there. And like honestly, a big thing was like you and like all of our other friends like saying like, hey, I'm gonna be there for you like when you cross the finish line. And like it sounds like little, but like just thinking about that like for like 6 months on end is so cool. And then especially when you do it,
that would definitely push me. Just like getting to, I think that would probably be my biggest I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like my biggest push is just knowing like my parents will be there at the end, they'll be waving, and like it'll all be worth it. Like I'll be able to say that it was all for a reason. So.
Yeah. I think that was big. I mean, I definitely ate slightly differently. I've always been pretty conscious of what I eat. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I definitely have like a good nutritional background and like understand like what carbs do. Like obviously when you're running, you want to be eating a lot of carbs. So like the night before a big run, I'll try and like eat a lot of pasta. Pasta's like your most carb dense food. But I wouldn't say there was like a whole, like you can't sit down and like mentally like the night before be like, okay, like how am I going to attack? I guess you could, but like you kind of just got to go out there and do it, and you'll notice, like you will start to notice like how your mind reacts to certain things. And like you'll know, like there were like a few runs I walked, like especially when my shin splints were happening, like you know, like, okay, is this literally just hurting my body, or is this just like a pain that like I have to get through?
Yeah, it's kind of a question, like is it something that I can get past, or it's one of those where like does my mind need rest or does my body need rest kind of thing, and you have to actually evaluate that because it's not like you can just stop. You kind of gotta figure it out.
And then I guess the last thing I'll say on that was like, I wouldn't say, I guess it's not mental prep, but then like you start like doing things like, right, like say you wake up in the morning, you go do like an 11-mile run, like that's your new farthest, and then like you go do something else later that day, like say you're studying for a test, like, oh, I don't want to do this, you're like, I just ran 11 miles. Like,
that's a cool one.
I can sit down and I can like read this essay, or like I can go talk to this person. Like sure, I might be stressed out, like I've already gotten this out of the way, like I can definitely do this, and like you kind of just start like comparing things.
I feel like it just strengthens you like as a person and makes you feel more capable and all this. Like I remember yesterday, me and Lisette were walking around. We walked like maybe 4 miles, just walking around Miami while they're running a whole ass marathon. And at the end, I was like, Lisette, my legs are so tired. Like I can't wait to go home and take a shower. I feel so gross and sweaty. And I was like, be so for real. Like they just ran they just ran for like 4+ hours straight. And I'm complaining, and I don't even know how to explain it, where I'm going with that, but it's just like cool it really makes you rethink like everything that you're thinking and like all of it. So
yeah,
that's so cool.
My dad woke up this morning and was like, something like hurt him from like sleeping, and I was like, Dad, I do not want to hear anything you're talking about right now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so impressive, like everything. But also as far as the mindset goes and the mental prep, I feel like over time your mindset just adjusts, like it just changes, like so you can't even pinpoint like, oh, like what was I thinking about that made me feel like I could do this, like just from day one when you decided you were doing this till now, like 6 months you said, I feel like you got your whole brain must have changed. Like chemically, I feel like everything you do feels different now.
I think that was the most rewarding thing for me too, was just like one, like you kind of realize how, like especially for like planning for something that big and that like drastic of a change, you kind of learn how to like set steps. Like, like you can't, especially like you can't go out, like, I mean, obviously we're relating all this back to running, but like you can't run out and on mile 1 be like, I have 25 miles to go.
Yeah.
Like
and that's what I worried that I would do. Well,
you're never going to get through it, right?
Exactly.
So like when you do run like these long distances, you'll take like electrolyte packages or something. So like I would do that every 4 miles. So like I would break down every run I did into 4 miles. Like, okay, I need to run 3 more. I can take this electrolyte package, take the packet. Okay, next 4 miles, next 4 miles, next 4 miles. And like you can translate that into literally anything. Like
baby steps.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I think so cool about it. Like, as much as this whole podcast episode, it's about running, think about it in a way that has nothing to do with running because it relates to everything we do in life. And I just think it's so cool. But it's also about running. Like, if you're considering running a marathon, here's all the info.
Yeah.
Let's see what other questions. Oh, actually, take us through the race. Like, I want start to finish.
Yeah.
Because I know some of the info. Like, we've talked about it a little bit, what happened, how it went. But from when you woke up in the morning to when you crossed the finish line, tell us.
All right. Well, okay, I'll take you through the whole weekend. So left UF on Friday, came down to my house in Boca Friday night. My brother flew in from New York City.
That's so cool. He flew in just for this.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see him.
It makes it even more special.
They have like a huge race day expo type thing the days before.
Was it in Miami?
Yeah, it was at the convention center. So you go down there, like you have to get your race bib, like the number you see everyone wear.
Were those numbers random or based on when you signed up?
I don't know.
I was curious.
I thought they were based off you signed up, but I think it also might be like, because when you sign up, you give like an estimated time.
Oh.
And it seemed like everyone who's in front of me had a number lower than me, and everyone behind me had a number higher than me. So they might do it by like based on time. So we went and got that. Then we had an Airbnb like 15 minutes from the race. So me, my brother, Pookie, and then 2 of his frat brothers, Jake and Josh, were running as well. They stayed with us. The people next to us were not being quiet.
Oh, Pookie was saying that. So
we didn't fall. I didn't fall asleep probably until like 11:45 the night before, and we were up.
Oh my god!
And I woke up in the middle of the night, and we had to be up at 3:45.
Holy crap!
So I probably got maximum like 3.5 hours the night before. But
yeah, that's basically how much I slept, and I'm just trying to compare that to if I actually had to run a marathon. I was delusional. So delusional.
Yeah. Keep in mind that, like, I mean, obviously you're pumped. Like, you've been waiting. Yeah. Like, by no means did
it's hard to even fall asleep, even if there wasn't loud neighbors.
Exactly. But yeah, by no means did I show up and I was like, oh, I didn't sleep well. I was ready.
There.
I was ready to go. So we start. The race starts. Your first mile is up a bridge.
Yeah. That's the bridge that me and Lisette were standing on, watching everyone run.
Which, I mean, it's your first mile, right? Like, you're training for 26. It wasn't.
That's true.
It wasn't ungodly hard. But
it's still a bridge. It's an uphill battle right at the start.
It was definitely like took it slow, got up the bridge. Like you typically have like 2 to 3 miles where like your legs warm up. So I knew I didn't want to burn them out quick. So that's advice number 1 to every new marathon runner that they tell you is don't take the race too fast and then die at the end.
Listen to that.
And that is
emphasis
exactly
on that.
that is exactly what I did. So I guess for a little background, like when I started, my time goal was to do it in under 4 hours, which is like averaging a 9:09 pace the whole way. So started out, I think my first 3 miles like maybe averaged like a 9:45, 9:10 or 10-minute flat. And that's what I always do. Like that's pretty typical. Maybe even a little slower than that, just to like get in your groove. And then I don't know, something happens.
I've always wondered how people like start slower and then their pace just gets faster and faster because I follow runner people on TikTok and I love to watch them. That makes sense that their legs are like warming up in the beginning.
Yeah, like your muscles are like slightly more stretched and maybe your stride's a little bigger. Honestly, I have no idea. Like I couldn't even tell you. But maybe you're running a little faster. You can definitely feel like your hips like open up and stuff like that. But I sped up a little bit. I was averaging probably a 9-minute mile. After that for like the next 10. And like most of my long runs before like in the training were like I was averaging like a 10.
Okay.
So I was running like a whole minute faster than what I was used to. Grant you, like I knew that one, I didn't want to leave anything on the table, right? Like I wanted to cross the finish line and like knew like I didn't like slack off, like I gave everything I had. But my goal for the race was I wanted to average 9:30. So I was like, okay, like I'm running a 9-minute now, like if I start to feel crappy, I'll pull it back a little bit. Then I just kept going, and I felt so good. I was like, all right, like this initial time goal, like under 4 hours, it's happening. Like I'm all go for it. So from mile 3 to probably like 14, I was booking it. Like,
are you thinking about anything in that time? Like, what goes through your head? Because to me, 9 minutes is so long to be with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Just running. What were you thinking about?
It changes. I mean, especially race day, right? Like all you're thinking about is the race. Like I was constantly like checking my like pace on my watch, which like isn't fun. You don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
But I mean, obviously it was a culture shock running with 25,000 people.
Yeah.
So that like was one thing, like kind of just like getting into that. You're running like through some pretty parts of Miami. I really wasn't looking around that much, honestly, but it's hard to describe. But like you do just kind of like check. Like I'm doing like say like a check on my breath every so often. Like hey, like how do I feel? But I guess I'm just like visualizing like the future parts of the race. But if it wasn't race day, like maybe I'm thinking about like what class I have later in the day, or like
just random thoughts.
Like what plans I need to make for the week. Like, oh, I haven't called my parents in 7 days. I need to do that when I get back.
That's kind of cool too, though. Like when you're forced to think about all the things that you sometimes want to avoid thinking about, not necessarily on race day, but on all the other days of training. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of forced to be with your thoughts, which is so good. I always tell you guys, do things alone. And running, I mean, that's another really cool way to do it if you don't want to do something else. So
yeah. So those 11 miles were super fun. Thought I had it in the bag. Then I got to like mile 15 and a half. Like this, keep in mind too, the sun like is starting to come out now. Like it's getting really hot. Because it's now
at this point, it's what time?
We started at 6, so now I'm halfway through. I'm probably at like 8:15.
Okay, yeah, it's hot at 8:15 in Florida.
8:15 a.m. Like the humidity's out. It probably felt like I don't know, maybe like 82, 83 degrees. And like I just felt it all going, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I really just do this to myself? And then like my stomach was going, and I was like, oh no. So then I ended up throwing up on mile 16.
Did you just like go to the side?
Yeah, you just pull over to the side.
Dang.
And like you don't want to do it, but I felt so bad because like when you do that, you're like, because I literally
getting rid of everything in you.
Like keep in mind all the electrolytes you're taking,
so all your carbs,
all the water you drank, all your carbs, all your electrolytes, and I was like, I feel so bad, so I let it go. I maybe could have tried to keep going, but I was like, I also.
But at that point, it's like you can't sit there and keep running when you feel you're gonna throw up. That's always worse.
So ended up throwing up in mile 16, and then after that, it was just like a complete absolute war. For context, I ran the first half in 2 hours and 2 minutes, and I ran the second half in 2 hours and 51 minutes.
That's just crazy.
So it was honestly like overall in terms of like performance compared to my training, like I probably ran like one of the worst races I probably possibly could have run, but like at the same time,
you still ran a marathon.
And also honestly, like when I was doing it, I was pretty mad. I was like, I can't believe like I trained all this way and then I did that. But now that I look back on it, like I had 2.5 hours where I was in just like absolute pain, agony, like whatever emotion you want to feel.
And you still did it.
And like you got through it and you look back on it and you're like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I saw the first time I saw Brian after he finished, because Pookie finished a little before him, so he was gone, and then we were just waiting for Brian, and he comes out, and I'm so excited. I'm like, Brian, you did it. How do you feel? How do you feel? He goes, that was horrible. I'm like, that is the last thing that I thought I was gonna hear. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like we're gonna battle with ourselves. Like you're gonna be mad at yourself. Like that's a given. But you still did it, and you crossed the finish line. You ran a marathon. And it doesn't even matter how long it took you. You still did it.
Yeah, for sure.
And like how now that you don't feel horrible, how do you feel now? Like what did it teach you? What were the biggest takeaways, I guess?
One, I mean, you can accomplish anything you want, but you have to be methodical about it. Like you can't just, I mean, especially for something like that drastic of a change, like you obviously know when you sign up for a marathon, I cannot physically run 26.2 miles right now.
Yeah,
like,
unfortunately. I wish it was that easy.
As much as you want to believe it, like sure, maybe some people could pull it out. Like you cannot do this at this current state. So being self-aware of like what that's going to take and like goal planning, setting small steps, that was one. Two, like whatever pain, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, that you feel, there's often another point you can push yourself to. Like, I mean, especially not just
strengthens
like, you. Yeah, not even just during running, but like there are like times where I was just like, during this process, like where I just say I had like a lot of schoolwork or like someone got me mad.
Mind you, also Brian's what are you doing in school right now? I didn't even know he was graduating with his bachelor's, and all of a sudden I see his Instagram post that he graduated. I'm like, Brian, what? Because technically, most people our age are graduating this spring, right?
Correct.
With their bachelor's.
Yeah.
So he did this in the winter, right? And now what are you doing?
So it's like a combined degree program. So you kind of take like your undergrad and your master's at the same time. So I just graduated with my bachelor's in finance, and then I have one semester this semester as a full-time graduate student, and I'll graduate in May with my master's in finance.
Yeah, so not only was he training for a marathon, he's taking like these really crazy classes and like doing it all. So it's just such a cool work ethic, and like the way you train your mind to like know that you're capable and just push yourself. Like it's honestly, it's pretty inspiring. I think not even just to me, but to everyone who's listening. It's so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
It's been really fun. And I think another one was, it definitely placed a lot of value to me on like the friends I have and the family I have. Like,
that's so cute.
Like people like, so many people were checking in like, oh, how's it going? Like, I mean, granted, I was posting about it all the time. Like this is my entire personality for like 6 full months.
Yeah, and it's gonna be mine too. So I'm just warning you guys in advance, if I do go through with this half marathon, which I am, you're gonna hear a lot about it.
Let's do it.
It's happening.
But yeah, like seeing them at the finish line and like literally making eye contact with people and like just seeing like I have a video and like just hearing them like scream at the top of their lungs was like made everything worth it. So I thought
like every thought, every bit of pain, like every struggle just disappears when moments like that happen. I mean, I feel the same way. Like my friends and my family are everything to me, and if I knew that I had them in my corner like supporting me, that would probably be my biggest push and like the reason that I make it all happen, I think. Mm-hmm. Obviously for yourself too, but it never hurts when you have people who are also just rooting for you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's crazy.
And I think another thing I'd say is, it like tying in with anything else, like, I mean, do I enjoy running? Probably not that much, right? Like it's not obviously as something like that is super fun. And like when you set those alarms at like 5 a.m. and you've gotten like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, literally the last thing you want to do is not only do you not want to get up, you don't want to go run for 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it in the way that sometimes, because I've been trying to make it a goal for myself, and I've told you guys this 10 million times, to go to the sunrise at least 4 or 5 times a week. And sometimes I fall asleep at 2 a.m. and I'll set my alarm for 6 a.m. to go. And I'll not complain, but like in my head, I'll be like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to get out of bed? Then I just kind of have to sit there and be like, well, one, I'm grateful that I get to get out of bed and go do this. Like, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to say run 2 hours. But, like, it's still just, like, having to convince yourself why it's worth it and, like, looking at how much it's going to mean to you and all that. Like, just...
It stacks up. It stacks up a ton. Like, those small mental, like, battles that you just come out winning, like, just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it definitely translates to everything else. So,
and it definitely teaches you a new kind of appreciation, too. Like, just puts a new value on life in general.
Yeah. Not everything's fun, but... you can make it fun, and it's obviously like pretty rewarding if you actually like stick with it.
Yeah, I think that my biggest takeaway from even just like hearing you talk about all of it is just really the goal thing. Because for me, I'll set goals that are crazy and out there, and I'll forget that I have to, I don't know, put in the work to do them. I'll just be like, yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. But like, it's cool when you think about it in a physical marathon point. Like, yeah, you can't physically do this right now, but it's going to take small steps, and you have to just, I guess, be able to be proud of yourself and push yourself to do all the small steps instead of just looking at the end goal. And I think that we touched on that before too, but that is what really hits for me, because I struggle so much with it sometimes that this is going to be a new challenge for me. Not even in the just marathon way, but in general. It's so cool. But yeah, I think that, was it worth it?
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. I mean, it's such a cool feeling. I mean, obviously not many people do it. Not many people get the chance to do it.
I'm pretty sure 1% of the population runs a marathon.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the 1%, I guess.
Welcome to the 1%.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I mean, it's funny because during the entire thing, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. And then literally like hours after we all finished, like we're all looking at each other like, when's the next one?
This is what I said to Brian. He finished and he goes, that was horrible. I go, are you going to do another one or something? And I'm pretty sure you were like, no, like, I don't think so. I'm like, just give it a day. Tomorrow you're going to say you're going to do another one. And now, look where we are.
It'll definitely be a little while. I'm not going to, like, do it again and, like, just get
next
right back into it. But
yeah, give yourself a pause. Be proud of the fact that you did this one. And then when you're ready, you'll be ready to do it all over again. But now I feel inspired. Now I know that I have to do this for so many different reasons, and it's going to happen. But I hope that if you guys were able to take anything away from this, it was just, well, there's a lot of points you could have taken away. So I hope you took something away from it. And Brian, I guess, do you have anything else that you want to say to the world?
Dream big. You know, like
big.
you've only got one chance at life, and I mean, I think at some point everyone kind of comes to a section where they're like, okay, like, am I just gonna keep doing what I don't thoroughly enjoy, or am I gonna really push myself and try and accomplish my dreams? And I think that, I mean, is my dream to be a marathon runner? No, but I think like going through this process, whether it be running or whether trying to get this job or something like that. Seeing yourself succeed in a way that you put yourself through something you haven't done before just really opens up to your mind to like, okay, like I know this is actually what I want to do, and I know what I just did has no correlation to that, but the fact that I was able to do something for maybe something that I don't enjoy, just imagine what I can do for something that I'm actually passionate about.
You're gonna give me goosebumps. That was so good.
I would recommend to anyone. Okay, you don't have to run a marathon, but like
you can run a half marathon.
I mean, it doesn't have to be running, but just find something that maybe you don't enjoy that much. And this was a huge part of the book, so that's kind of like good that we're tying this back to the beginning.
Okay.
Is that like him now, like he was a horrible swimmer. He went to like Navy SEAL training. To this day, like one of the things he does routinely is he'll go jump in cold water, tie his hands and his feet together, and he'll make sure he doesn't drown for like an hour. He's crazy. He's
a little crazy, but still, the idea is there.
Like he's just taking something he knows that he absolutely hates, and he keeps doing it because he knows like I can tackle that.
Then I can do anything.
Now imagine what I can do for something I want to do.
And I think that's why I want to do this half marathon thing, because
I'll do it with you.
Yeah, we're doing it together.
You guys will see some pictures pretty soon.
Lots of it. It's gonna be fun, and I think that was great. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And you'll probably be hearing from Brian again, because maybe like halfway through my training, we'll do another update on like how I'm feeling. But yeah, that was awesome. And I will talk to you guys next Monday.
All right,
bye guys.
People. Peace
Later.
out.
We did it.
That was good.
That was great.